Hey everybody, just wanted to share with you some changes that I made in our OAP account today based on videos that I watched from Jermaine Griggs from Automation Clinic and Here and Play. For those of you that haven't heard of him, he actually sells music training courses, but now he uses Infusionsoft a lot, and so he's actually has a home study course on automation that he is using within Fusion. And before he did a huge amount of automation within one shopping cart as well before he moved over to Infusion. But anyway, one of the things they talked about in that training was recency, frequency, and monetary, and actually tracking those metrics and putting the processes in place in Infusion, or in our case in Office Autopilot, to track those. And so we're using a combination of tags, step sequences, and active response sequences in order to do that. I have these filtered down into our tracking sequences here. And so one of the things that we're tracking is how often people are clicking on links within the emails. So if we expand this auto response, if they click on any link from any email, so we're not filtering it down into our different websites or different types of emails. It's just any link in any email. It's going to remove them from the click frequency sequence, and then it's going to add them back in. So basically, we're starting that sequence over from zero when we do that. And so if we look at the click frequency, we can see first of what it's going to do is it's going to add all the frequency tags. And so there's a tag for 7 days, 15 days, 30 days, 60 days, and then there's a 90-day one that I added in later, 6 months and a year. So after it gets past 90 days, and then we're going into 6 months and then a year, our account's just around a year now, I think. Right about this time last year is when we started on Office Autopilot. And so what we do within this sequence is, so first we add all the tags, so it adds the contact to all the tags in the beginning. So when we restart that sequence, it's going to add all those tags back in. So let's say that they were, well, let's say they went into this step, so they made it to the 8th day, and they still haven't clicked on anything. It's going to remove them from the 7-day tag. The 15-day, it's going to, on 8 more days, so on day 16, it's going to remove them from the 15 days. And on day 31, so 15 days after the previous step, it's going to remove them from the 30-day tag. So let's say they didn't click on anything for 30 days, and so they got removed from these 3 tags. Now they would be removed from the sequence and added back into the sequence. So when they are added back into the sequence, this first step will add all those tags back in, and then the countdown would start. So they would start at day 0, and then once they reach day 8, it would take them out again. And so that's basically how each of these frequency ones is working. So we're also doing something similar for logins and then visits. So if we look at the active response ones, the login frequency, it's when the last login is updated. That way we know it's a new login and it's today. It's going to do the same type of thing. It's going to restart those sequences. If we look at visit frequency, it's going to do the same type of thing. If they visit any of our websites that we have set up within tracking, it's going to remove them and put them back in. And you could narrow this down by selecting individual websites and setting up separate sequences for that. At this point, we just haven't decided to do that yet. We're just doing it overall across our business. And then the other thing that's a little bit different here is the last visit. So on this one, if they visit Social Traffic Lab members, it's going to assign them to the last visit sequence here, track last visit STL. And so what this is doing is it's actually setting the date to the current date. So we have a tracking field called STL last visit, and then it's setting that to the current date. So when you can either choose a date or you have the checkbox here to use the current date, and since it was triggered, with their visit, we can just use current date and it updates that on their contact record. And then we have it set to unsubscribe them after the last step, because once we have that date set, then we no longer need them in this sequence. And I'm going to pause. I have one more one here where I'm actually counting. Let me pause this and I'll start it back up here in a second. Okay, and so the last set of metrics that we're collecting now, you can see that I've just set this up so the App Amigos and App Developer Academy hasn't been fired yet, but STL has. That's our most active site, largest number of members. This is basically counting the visits. So we have a field that has, that's just a numeric field that we set up, custom field that's numeric. And anytime they visit Salt Lake Traffic, or Salt Lake Social Traffic Lab members, it's going to ping a URL. And so this URL is actually using our API. And so it's got the API key and secret in there. And then what it's doing is it's going out by the email address, pulling the record, getting their contact ID, and getting the previous value, the previous count. And then it's incrementing that count and updating the record. And that's just a little API script that we created to start tracking that information as well. So some really cool stuff. I did get a lot of great information out of Jermaine's automation clinic videos that he has up on his free area before he offers his home study course for $2,000. But there was a lot of great content in there. There's another guy that's doing a lot of Infusionsoft automation and business processes and stuff, Brad Martineau, with six something. I put that in the group the other night as well. Both of those have a lot of good videos as far as process maps and processes to set up a lot of this different tracking that you can then use later on down the line in automation and improving the experience that your members are having with Office Autopilot. So great stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks a lot.